All right, so this is week two, day one. I believe there might be around 4 or 5 weeks of this. So this is the second week. If you guys didn't go over my first few weeks of slides and stuff, you guys should definitely look over that. We essentially went over a lot of the events, introduction to speech as an activity, as well as events, and then analyzing some toolbox tips. As the tips we use in the toolbox are essentially how we give great speeches and how we sound good when giving a speech, right? By utilizing all of those tools, we can sound the best and deliver the best speech and get better at speaking, which all of you want to do in this camp, right? And so today, don't be afraid, but we are going to give some speeches. So today I'm going to have you guys give some practice speeches. They're going to be really quick. I'll guide you through them, and I'll come in the second half of the lesson, all right? But to start off, I'm going to see if any of you did the homework of watching state performances, as well as coming up with an event you want to do, right? So if you could, I guess in the chat, let me know, did you guys watch any state performances? If so, which ones? And then what event are you thinking of doing? Okay, so those are the two questions mainly. We'll go over some of these other ones if you want. Here are some of the events, right? The speech events. We have public address, limited preparation, interpretation. If you watched some state videos, you can see, well, they should be under one of these categories. Now, if you didn't watch them, please let me know as well, right? So whether or not you watch them or not, please type something in the chat. You can private message me if you'd like. Tell me if you watched any videos, what event you're thinking of doing, or if you haven't done any of that. All right. And participation from you all will be pretty necessary today because we're going to learn a lot and actually practice some stuff today. All right. So go ahead, just type in the chat. While you guys are doing that, I'll go over some more events and stuff that I suggest, right? So potential speeches for the showcase, right? These are the events that I would suggest you guys do because it's a lot easier to do, right? Original oratory is a persuasive speech about a topic or a problem in the world that you want to try and solve or address, right? And so this is your persuasive speech, persuading someone to do something or come to a solution, right? That's taking a stance, and you would write this by yourself. It wouldn't, I can guide you through that, but that's what you would do. Informative speaking is about informing the audience about a topic, right? You don't have to take a stance on this one. You're not supposed to take a stance. You're just informing them, the background, the history, as well as what will come in the future, right? Of informative speaking. So you could be talking about like electric cars or space, right? Something you find really interesting and you just want to inform the audience about. Again, you'll write that yourself, but that's something that is a very good topic to pick as well. Next, we have oratorical declamation. Now, this one is like reciting a published speech. This one is another easier one, in my opinion, because you don't have to write your speech. It's already pre-written and published. You just have to read it and try and give it like it's your own speech, deliver it very powerfully. And that's a speech that you guys can all do to work on your own speaking. All right. As I keep going through this, please continue putting stuff in the chat. I have 2 people who put stuff in already. For the rest of you, right, again, if you haven't done any preparation or not, still tell me in the chat that you haven't, or tell me, you know, what event you're interested in at the end of this, all right? Now, next we have poetry reading. Poetry reading is like what it sounds. You're gonna find poetry pieces that you love that are of similar topics. You'll put them together, and then you're gonna read the poetry out loud and give it like a speech. And it's gonna be very emotional. There's gonna be a lot of emotions. It's gonna be powerful, right? But again, you don't have to write any of it. You're just putting stuff together. You're finding poetry and you're reading it to an audience. Similar for prose reading. This is like more short stories, pieces of text, you're putting them together and you're reading them out loud, right? And you're delivering that. And then impromptu speaking is what I do. And this is a lot harder because it's the 2 minutes of preparation for a 6-minute speech. For you guys, it doesn't have to be like that, but it's basically you don't have a lot of time and you're given a prompt and you need to come up with a full speech after that, right? And that's really hard, but I can guide you through that as well. If you have your own stories you want to tell about other people, I can definitely guide you through that. And then lastly, we have radio speaking. This one's another easier one because you're just given a bunch of news sources or a script, and you're reading that script like a radio broadcast, and you don't even have to show your face. It's all about the vocal variety, how you deliver it like a radio speech, as well as even delivering a commercial, right? Adding emotion, adding energy into that commercial and making it different from the rest of the speech. So all of these are very good speeches you can potentially do. And if you have an idea of which one you want to do, definitely let me know. All right, so we have a few people who answered. So we have Andrew. So watching TED and want to do radio speaking. Right, so radio speaking, like I mentioned, if you want to read off of a script, not even have to show your face, but have a strong, powerful voice, clear voice with a lot of vocal variety, that's great for you, and that's radio. Alicia, I believe, wants to try INF, which is, I believe, informative speaking. That's great. So I'm assuming, Alicia, you have some topic you want to inform the audience about that you're really passionate about, which is great. Iris, TED video, very compelling. Right, so the TED Ed videos are very compelling. That's also great. So TED Ed are great ways to watch speeches and see what great speakers are doing, right? And so, and a lot of the times your oratorical declamation is gonna be about a TED Ed, or you can literally take a TED Ed and deliver as your own speech. But yeah, so Katie says she wants to write her own speech, but doesn't know if it's persuasive or informative. So if you're writing your own speech, it's going to be original, oratory, or informative. It wouldn't really be radio. If you want to try and cut your own pieces together of news, if you really love the news and want to deliver a radio speech about the news, you can do that as well and like put news stories together. I can help you with that. But if you're writing your own speech, it will likely be persuasive or informative, and you would have to come up with a topic for that. And then Ira says, interested in informative speaking as well, right? I think a lot of people are. Katie says, you just don't want to show your face. So obviously on Zoom, right, keeping cameras off, whatever, it is like, we don't actually want to do this. So when giving speeches and stuff, obviously they're going to see your face. In school, when you're giving a presentation, people are going to see your face, whatever. So it is best to become comfortable giving speeches out in the open to an audience who can see you. And also like facial expressions and gestures and all of that are a big part of speaking, right? Audrey, radio, oratorical, and prose, yeah, great stuff. And then Alan gives a, okay side, cool. So I'm glad you guys have a lot of ideas, and we're gonna start going into these ideas throughout these weeks. So let's go over the speech toolbox one more time.
Sorry, Bill, to interrupt, but I just want to make a list of who's doing what so we can keep track of that. So I have Alicia down for INF, Iris down for informative, so INF, I think. And then what about the rest? I only caught those two.
Andrew wants to do radio speaking. Katie wants to write her own, so that would be original, oratory, or informative. Audrey is willing to do radio, oratorical, declamation, or prose.
So we're not sure yet.
I don't know. Audrey, do you have a preference between those?
I can do like a split.
Really, I just picked 3 that were like the most likely for me to choose.
Yeah,
I'm not
there's only
sure.
like 7 to choose from, so it kind of makes it a little difficult here.
Okay. No,
I'll
yeah, we
figure
can,
it out, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll just say TBD for now.
yeah, we can definitely figure it out.
And I think we have a couple more.
I think that's it. I think Alan is new.
Oh yeah,
So-
Alan. I don't know if Alan's chosen one yet. I guess I can also write it down as TBD. Not a big deal.
Okay. But regardless, let's go over the toolbox. I'm going to add facial expressions here because it's also important. So yeah. So the key toolbox tip is like vocal variety. We're going to go over that today. Essentially, what this is a variety in how you speak, right? Highs, lows, loud, soft, a lot of emotion, happy, sad, right? All of that is a part of vocal variety, and it is a very important key in terms of, you know, sounding good when giving a speech and making it not boring, right? If someone was lecturing like me for an hour and had the exact same tone the entire time, didn't have any vocal variety, it would actually sound like a robot and it would be really boring, right? So you want vocal variety when you're speaking in order to keep the audience engaged. Yeah, Anderson would love people to turn on their cameras. I'm gonna go over something really quick, and then yeah, after that we can have everyone turn on their cameras to interact and share out. Right. So vocal variety is very important. Gestures are like using your hands to gesture while you talk. That's very important. We'll go over these in different weeks as well. Eye contact. Oh, that just changed randomly. But eye contact is more in person, not over Zoom. Using your space is like moving around in your speech. Intonation and emphasis is also vocal variety. You're going to be emphasizing certain words and phrases that are important. Pauses are also very important in terms of pausing when you speak at certain points in order to emphasize things or give your audience a break, right? You don't want to talk all the time. Sometimes you want to pause a bit, right? You can see how I even use pauses when talking on a day-to-day basis. And then lastly, facial expressions. Facial expressions are really important. When you're giving a speech in person, your face shares the entire story. If you're smiling, people will be more happy and engaged. If you're always sad or just stone-faced, right, people might not be engaged, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to focus on vocal variety today. So one thing we're going to do with this is use an example, right? So I want you guys, I'm going to show this video. I want you to watch it. I'm not going to show the whole thing because it's a bit long, or I'll show like half of it. Focus on the vocal variety. See how he uses his voice ups and downs, different ways. And then after I show the video, think of some stuff to share out. And I'll go around asking each of you what you thought about the speech and you know, why you think it's a good example of vocal variety, right? And then after this, we'll take a break and get into the second half of stuff, right? So go ahead, start thinking about vocal variety. I'm gonna share my sound as well. Cool. And
Could I have a...
let's watch this. I hope it's not too loud. This is my good friend Yashas, who won state in original oratory. So this is a persuasive speech. Hopefully you can identify that.
Coming in hot, I should be locked up right on the...
I love reading the news, which is why for years on speech, I competed in extemp. And hey, Ajay, look at me. I get tons of Valentines.
That's a joke from the day. You might not understand, but let's keep it.
Could I have up here...
But my AP government teacher, who, by the way, isn't one of my Valentines, recently asked me a pretty simple question that I was stumped by. Tell me everything about your city council. I mean, I could Google their names, but I still wouldn't know who they were or what they stood for. Normally, there's a pretty easy solution to that. Just read my local newspaper. But the Columbia Journalism Review noted on December that during the pandemic, thousands of local outlets laid off their reporters, including ones at my own. That means there's very little coverage of city council meetings. Tons of high school football, but not enough about who's actually running the city. And I'm one of the lucky ones. I actually have a local newspaper. The Washington Post on November 30th of 2021 noted that in the last 15 years, a quarter of all local newspapers have folded, leaving all of us less informed about our own communities. So today, let's dive into our local news crisis by examining the causes, effects, and solutions of origami, because papers are folding. This problem has become so widespread that there's a name for communities that don't have local papers: news deserts, which the University of North Carolina's local media center defines as communities with limited access to credible news. Today, Hamilton and Pulaski counties, right here in southern Illinois, with a combined population of 15,000, don't have a single local paper between them. The good news is they still have Facebook. The bad news is they still have Facebook. The primary cause of these news deserts are twofold. We are apathetic, and there are structural issues in the way. First, we're not aware that news deserts are forming, and quite frankly, a lot of us just don't care. A Pew Research Center study from September of 2019 found that 70% of Americans wrongly believe that their local newspaper is doing well financially, even though less than 15% of them pay for local news themselves. And without subscriptions, local papers are struggling to survive. And that lack of reporting means that people are taking advantage of anything they can get their hands on. Just look at COVID. A 2020 study from the peer-reviewed journal Current Medical Research and Opinion found that people without local outlets were less informed about how the pandemic is affecting their communities. News deserts leave us starving for civic understanding. But it's not just our fault. There are structural barriers standing in the way of local news success. As journalist Margaret Sullivan wrote in her 2020 book, Ghosting the News, as advertisers moved away from local papers towards social media sites and Google, local media was left with less money, which meant smaller staffs, fewer reporters, and ultimately fewer subscribers. It's a race to the bottom. Even large market papers, like the once massive Chicago Tribune, weren't safe. As The Atlantic's McKay Coppins found in a November 2021 cover story, the Tribune was bought out by a hedge fund last May that he said was more interested in making money than actually producing quality journalism. There's cash in clickbait, but not nearly enough reward in reporting. In January of 2020, the New Yorker's Charles Bethea went down to Pollexville, North Carolina, a town of just 300 people, to analyze the damage in the aftermath of Hurricane Florence. He found that many people didn't even have access to emergency resources because the paper that would have normally told them about those things had gone out of business. But the effects of local news dying are unsettling everywhere. We miss out on the real stories, and we lose a vital tool to build trust. First, when local news falls, we miss stories that matter. Just look at the Flint water crisis. A 2020 paper in the journal Local Environment noted that the regulatory failures that led to that crisis were only exposed because of the small-town reporters who covered it, who eventually got the attention of larger media outlets. If you're only watching cable news or reading national newspapers, you're probably not learning much about your local mayor or superintendent, because those outlets just have different priorities. It works the other way around, too. As Pulitzer Prize winner Art Cullen explained to NPR's Fresh Air in September, his paper, the Storm Lake Times, has long been an advocate for immigrants and underrepresented groups in their communities. There's always a local connection to national stories. But it's not just that we're missing out on these critical stories. Local news's decline means that we are losing civic understanding. The nonpartisan John Knight Foundation found last year that people without local newspapers were less than half as likely to vote. And while everyone has opinions about Fox News or MSNBC's political leanings, you're not going to find those same arguments about, say, the Peoria Journal-Star. Local news enjoys support across the political spectrum. The Pew Research Center found in August that 75% of Americans support it, compared to just 46% that supported the news at large. Local news is a lot like Wordle. It's popular, it's getting bought out by rich people, and I'm worried they're gonna ruin what makes it special. Local news has always been a driving force in.
All right, I don't want to spend too much time just watching this, so I'll stop it right there. There's like 2 minutes left. But I want to ask you all, right, what you thought about the speech, okay? What did you guys like about Yashas's speech? You can talk about any of the toolbox tips. At this point, if you can, please turn on your cameras so we can get some interaction. I think Audrey already has hers on, which is great. Please turn on your cameras. Iris, thank you. Andrew, welcome. And then if you can't turn it on, please let us know why. Katie, Alicia, Alan. Okay, Katie, perfect. Perfect. And then Alan, if you can. Perfect. Thank you all. So glad to see your faces. So we just watched Yashas's speech. All right. Now, it might be a hard speech to follow in terms of the topic and all that. It's about local newspapers. But even regardless of what he was talking about, I'd love for you guys to talk about, what you liked about the speech, right? Did you like his vocal variety, gestures? What was engaging about it? All right. And then we'll just start with who turned the cameras on. So Audrey, do you have anything you'd like to say about this speech?
He made his voice dynamic in the sense that his pitch changed. He didn't only do it because he was saying something like serious or because he was saying something funny. He didn't only change it for those specific reasons. He just changed it to keep it interesting.
Yeah, that's really good. Glad you brought that up, right? You don't have to change pitch just for jokes or emphasis. It's like pretty normal in your everyday speaking to keep things interesting and change your pitch in order to keep the audience engaged, right? And that's a very big point of vocal variety. So thank you very much for bringing that up, Audrey. Next, we'll go to Iris. Iris, what did you like about the speech? What do you think about it?
I noticed when he was giving specific examples of why it's bad that people are not reading the news. His voice slowed down, and then when he was telling jokes, his voice became more upbeat.
Yes, great, love it. So pacing, right? This is also a part of vocal variety because it's not just ups and downs in terms of pitch, but also speed, right? When you're giving jokes or when you're trying to get through some boring information, you can talk a bit quicker, right? In order to keep your audience's attention and just get that stuff out of the way quicker, versus when you're trying to make a deeper point, a more emphatic point, maybe something more emotional or impactful, you'll talk a bit slower, right? In order to draw that point out and focus on, the gravity of it, right? And so thank you, Iris, for mentioning that. Speed is also a very big factor. Next, we'll have Andrew. Andrew, what did you think about this speech?
About the eye contact, he kind of looking around during his speaking.
Yeah, so in this speech, so this is the performance at the end where he won the award. It's a huge auditorium of people in Peoria. So his eye contact, he was looking around a lot. Likely he couldn't even see the people in the audience, but like you said, eye contact is very important in terms of you should be looking at the audience, right? You don't want to be looking up at the sky or at the ground. You are looking at the audience and talking to them. So that is a good point to bring up in order to keep that in mind, right? And then we'll go to Katie. Katie, what did you think?
I also really liked his voice. I don't know, it sounds interesting and funny to me the way he changes his voice, so it keeps me interested and listening. Usually I shift my attention shift away really fast, but it was it keeps it fresh. It has a fresh feeling. Yeah,
so I love that you brought up the word fresh, right? You want most of what you're saying throughout the entire speech to be fresh and engaging for the audience. Like you said, if your attention slips away after 2 seconds, right, then your audience is not going to pay attention to what you're saying, which is not good. You want the audience to pay attention, right? And so by keeping it fresh, by, vocal, right, keeping a variety of vocal expressions, that's going to do you well in the long run when giving you a speech, right? All right, next we'll go to Alicia. Also, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, your pronunciation is right.
Okay, cool. What did you?
During the speech, his hand was keep moving, and he was keep moving on the stage too. I think that makes people easier to understand.
Yeah, for sure. So we mentioned gestures, right, as well as using your space. So gestures allow the audience to follow along in terms of like even using their eyes. Instead of just staring at someone who's standing still, they can follow hand movements that emphasize certain points, as well as watching the person move from one side of the stage to the other, right? As you go from the point, you saw in his introduction, his entire introduction was in the middle. Then when he went to his first point of causes, he went to the right side or the left side of the stage, right? And then back to the middle, and then he was going to go to the right side for the solutions, right? So moving around allows you to break apart the speech as well into different parts and compartmentalize for the audience, what part of the speech am I at, right? So that's very important. And then lastly, we have Alan. Alan, what did you think about this?
The pauses between each sentence and jokes.
Yeah, so you definitely might have noticed the pauses. When I was watching the speech, that was the one big thing I noticed. Of Yashis used a lot of pauses after jokes, in between sentences, right? To either give the audience a break and let them laugh and enjoy the speech, or to, right, prepare for the next sentence or emphasize something, right? So all of these things make up a great speaker. I'm glad we touched on basically everything in this toolbox. And right, this is a great example. All of the IHSA state champions are going to be great speakers. So that's why I keep telling you guys to watch them as examples of great speakers. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is a practice speech. Okay. So this is why I'm having you guys on camera today. This is going to be really quick. I'm going to have you guys take a break, but think about this while you're taking the break, and then we'll come back and actually give those speeches. So if you guys could right now, take a look at the screen or the chat. I'll put these prompts in the chat, right? So there are 3 prompts here. What I want you to do is choose one of the prompts, whichever one you think is the easiest, the best to answer for you, right? See if you can answer it, right? So if you could have dinner with 3 famous people in any point in history, who would they be? So in your mind, do you have 3 people you really want to have dinner with, right? Think about that. Or what's your dream career? What do you want to do with your life, right? Do you want to be an astronaut, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever? Think about that, right? Think about that. Or number 3, if you could choose one study to never study again, say you hate science or you hate math, what would that subject be? Now, what I want you to do for all of these is give me the answer of why, right? So you're going to answer these questions, but also tell me why, okay? So in a speech, right, get out a piece of paper, have something to write down, start writing down some of your thoughts, right? Answer this question and then list like 3 points of why. So if your dream career is being a doctor, why do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to help people? Do you like working with medical tools, medical supplies? Do you like interacting with people, right? List some of the points, right? So answer the question and give me some points and then conclude it, right? And so this speech does not have to be long at all. It could literally be 2 minutes, right? So you're giving an introduction. You're going to tell me your answer to this question as an introduction. If you want to have fun, make a joke, tell me a quote at the start, you can do that as well. You're introducing your answer to one of the prompts. Then you're going to go into 3 points. Tell me why, right? This is the first reason, blah, blah, blah. Second, third, right? Have fun with it, right? Make it fun, add jokes in, add transitions in. this is for you to showcase your skills to me. I've never heard any of you speak so far, right? So try your best to organize a speech as best as possible for yourself in these next few minutes. And then I'm going to have you all share out actually. So I'll have you all speak. It's literally 2 minutes. You don't have to do more than that, but answer the questions and explain why. The more you explain, the better it'll be, right? And then I'll get a chance to see where you are at in your speaking career, all right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this up, but I'll have you all come back at 7:40. So take a few minutes. You have 5-6 minutes to take a break, continue thinking about this, write down stuff, right? Take some notes. You can have a note card in front of you. You can have something written in front of you. And then when we're back, we're going to start sharing out, all right? All right, so I'll keep this on the screen, but come back at 7:40. Okay. And the prompts are also in the chat.
Good luck, everyone.
All right, everyone. It is 7:40. If you're back, please turn on your cameras again so that we can get started. All right, Andrew, Alicia, Anderson. Thank you, thank you. Again, this is just the same slide, but now we're gonna present out. Hopefully you guys had some time to write down some stuff, get some thoughts going. So for this speech, I'm not gonna have you all stand up. I'm not gonna have you all get out of your seat. Doesn't matter. If you have a sheet of paper in front of you, if you have a Google Doc open, if you have anything, you can use that as you're giving the speech, right? So you can like read your ideas as you're talking. I don't think I gave you enough time to write out your whole speech. So this is pretty impromptu in terms of you're kind of speaking off the cuff. You're just delivering your ideas in this moment, right? But give us an introduction to answer the prompt, right? Which prompt are you answering? What is your answer to it? Give us the why behind it, the meat, the body, right? 3 points as to answer why, and then you can conclude it, right? Bring it all together, right? And that's the speech. Again, doesn't have to be long at all, but whoever wants to do it to start out, we'll have you start out with a volunteer. So does anyone want to go first?
I can go first. I need to use the bathroom.
Alan, sure. And then Andrew, I think you want to go next as well.
Have a wait, it doesn't have to be long, right? Mine's only like maybe like 1 minute or so.
We'll see. Try to go a bit over a minute. I'd aim for 2 minutes, but just give whatever you're comfortable doing at this point. All right. Go ahead.
I chose the third question, which is if you could choose one subject to never study again, which one would it be? So I chose on science, and then it's more like bio and physics, because I mean bio is useful. We can understand how our body, our world functions, how environment works, the cycle of life, but it's pretty much kind of useless going to like maybe like when you're trying to find a job, when you're trying to like live by yourself. It's not as important as to the other subjects like econ, maybe like maths. So, and then another one is physics. I mean, most of us probably study in an international school, which means that you have to learn all three. And then for physics, you need to learn a lot of equations, a lot of formulas that you need to remember, which is only useful in a test. But after a test, pretty much all of us will forget. So like, in my opinion, there's really no point of studying super deep into science. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Alan. That was a bit over 1 minute. So the things I liked, Alan, if you need to go to the bathroom, you can, but I'm gonna briefly talk about your speech a little bit. So yeah, did a great job, right? You answered the prompt. You even went and said basically 2 subjects you would never study again. That's great. I loved, especially in your biology, how you mentioned, some of the good things about biology, right? What you could learn about it. And then you were like, but actually for me, this is not what I would do because it's not as useful in our day-to-day life. And I think most of us can agree with some of your points in terms of if you're not going to study biology or study physics for your career, it might not be as useful for people going about their day-to-day life. Right? So I think that was a good speech. You talked very naturally. It was like a conversation, which is very important, and it's good. And you had some details to back up your points. So well done, Alan, and thank you for sharing. You can go to the bathroom now as necessary. All right, thank you. Cool. So good stuff from Alan. Great starting out. Who would like to go next? I think Andrew, did you want to go next? Or Andrew, I think you want to go first. Do you care?
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So should I just start now?
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Why choosing second question, which is what career I want to be in the future, is because I think in compared to question number 3, every subject that we learn is obviously being chosen. And why they think that we are gonna learn that is obviously it's mandatory. You don't like bio, that doesn't mean that the society don't need bio. Like if you go into the biochemistry, microbiochemistry, kind of like that, it all require the base of biology. And if you don't learn biology, this is only the basic education, so it's required. So why choosing the second question is because I'm kind of learning on that. Why I want to be in the future is kind of an IT worker. Why I like that? Because I'm interested in computer, like digging the things in computer, finding the files, and I like to solving problems because there's a lot of bugs. It's easier to find the coding. Or you cannot prevent that, so that's finding the problem, solve it. I'm enjoying it, and also computer science. I would say it's kind of going to be the future is bright. It doesn't like train forever. Like it's gonna like take over by AI sooner, maybe. I don't know, but obviously, from now seeing, it's hard to taking over computer science as a, or you cannot let AI help you write like coding. That's definitely impossible. So it's my favorite. I wanted to do it. I'm enjoying it. I like it. And the future of this job is also bright. So there's no reason for me to not choosing it. That's why my favorite job is going to be IT worker. Thanks.
Very good stuff, Andrew. So that was around 1 minute 45 seconds. Very good length. You seemed very comfortable. You had a lot of points written out. You had a lot of stuff to talk about. And I'm glad in your introduction you even mentioned, why you chose the second prompt and gave some counterexamples as to, why you didn't choose that third prompt, right? And so a lot of great stuff here, right? You're able to show your breadth of knowledge in a subject, right? So if you were to do like an informative speech, right, you would be talking about that topic a lot. And also you gave different points that were, again, very different, right? Why you like it, right? It's your favorite subject, right? You're a problem solver, right? As well as the future of that job is very bright, right? And so all these points, this makes a great speech, and it seems like you were very comfortable giving it. So very good job, Andrew. Well done. All right, now Alicia, I think, do you want to go next?
Sure. My topic is the third one. If I could choose subject to never study again, is probably going to be GEM and French. French for me is a bit useless because I'm not going to live in Quebec for my entire whole life. And I'm studying English right now. I can't even handle one language. How can I handle the second one? And GEM is, I'm the one that don't like to go outside and don't like to do any sport. So GEM is useless for me, and I hate GEM too. Because sometimes my teacher make us go outside in a very hot weather. Yeah, and that's all.
All right. Thank you very much, Alicia. So that was around 55 seconds. Okay, so great. You did answer the prompt very nicely. You had more than one subject that you would not want to do again. And what I loved about Alicia is she added jokes, right? I don't know if they were planned or not, but naturally very funny, right? Learning French, right? The joke of I can't even handle one subject. Like that's actually a joke you could see on a state performing state performance, because jokes are very good. I'm so glad you included jokes. I was laughing. I think Anderson was laughing as well. They brighten up your performance. They keep it engaging, and all your points are very valid, right? They come from the heart. Another thing I like that you did is brought up an example of, in gym class, your teacher forced you to go outside in really hot weather. We all hate that. Everyone can relate to that. But bringing up a personal anecdote or an example is always great in adding detail and supporting your argument, right? So instead of just saying, I hate gym because you know, you have to do things you don't like, well, you added an example of your teacher forces you to go outside. Or you could even go on and be even more specific, you know, forced us to go outside, forced to play soccer in the heat, and then I ended up tripping and falling over something, right? You can add even more detail wherever you want in that story. So as you tell a story, you can add more detail to that. So that's something that you did that was a great job, and that's a way to add more to your speeches, right? So that's great. So I hope everyone is listening as well when people are giving these speeches, because then you can hear how other people are talking and then hear my feedback as well and see what you can use and improve on as you give your own speech. All right. So we had 3 people go already. We have 3 more people. Who would like to go next? Iris, Katie, or Audrey? Would one of you like to go next? You've heard 3 speeches already. It's not hard. Talk however much you want. You can use what you've prepared. Does anyone want to go? You'll have to go by the end anyways, so you might as well get it out of the way. Okay, well, I'll choose then, I guess. I'll choose Iris. Iris, are you willing to go right now?
Sure. I don't think I came up with enough points, but I chose what's your dream career. So I don't particularly have a favorite subject, so I don't really know what I'm gonna be, but but a job that I think is like really cool is like if I like working for like a pharmaceutical company, cause I want to like develop more drugs and like more cures for like Alzheimer's, because it's a really bad disease, because I know someone with Alzheimer's, and I can like the people I see how it affects the people around who are close to that person, and it's a really bad brain disorder. And I think I read an article about a recent Alzheimer's drugs, an Alzheimer's drug that didn't work. So I think people who like to help other people are really cool, and they work really hard to help cure such a complicated brain disorder. So that's why I would want to help develop more cures, I guess.
Yeah, thank you very much for that speech, Iris. This is like, I loved your speech and the way that it went, right? Because you started out by saying, right, your dream career, what you love to do, and then you went into your own personal story. Now, this is what makes speeches so incredible. I love hearing speeches when people talk about their own personal story, because I love hearing people's stories, right? And by adding your own personal story, people connect to you way more, right? It's more personable, and they see that you're a human, right? They see the pain, they see the emotion behind what you're talking about. I've known someone with Alzheimer's as well. I'm sure other people have as well. And so they understand the pain that you're going through, the pain that other people are going through, and they can relate to your speech. That's why giving a personal story is so impactful, right? Whenever you're speaking. And so I'm really glad you're able to tie that together, right? From going to that dream career to that story, it backs up your argument, and it makes it great. And like you said, that's what you want to do. You want to help people and, you know, better the world around you. And so that was a great speech. I love that. So yeah, great stuff there. And then lastly, we have Katie and Audrey. I don't know, is Audrey back? Audrey's camera is not on.
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you guys want to go first or not? I'll just flip a coin.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. Yep. Give me a second. Flip a coin. Who wants heads?
I want head.
Who said that?
Katie, me.
Katie says they want heads. So if it lands on heads, you want to go? Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Let's go. Coin, and it is heads. All right, Katie. Unfortunate. You're gonna
I'm fine with it. I just think it's fun.
have to do a little bit of randomized. All right.
I chose the second prompt, like, what is your dream career? Honestly, until this second, I'm still not sure if I really have like a dream career. I have always been kind of unstable, so I just chose like one of the favorite hobbies that would work as a career, and that's like a photographer. And like I have like the three main points. A photographer is actually, in my opinion, quite flexible career. You could travel anywhere and to like take the pictures you want. For example, if I want to go to like Europe now, I could just fly over and then make some pictures, take some pictures, and then you can express yourself in. It's like the same way as paintings or art, where they paint what they're thinking of and their opinions, but instead expressing that with photography, like pictures. And it's also, as I said, it was very flexible, so you can work anytime you choose. You can like, if I follow my summer vacation sleep schedule, I could like go out and take night pictures at 2 a.m. when I'm awake.
Yeah.
But there is only one con about photography, and that's like it is a very, as like Andrew said, his dream job is like a stable job that's like in the future. You can see that it's maybe like a very stable job in the future. But for photography or any art career in general, it's very hard to stable it. It's like hard to get like a stable income, and hard to like, for example, if you want to travel anywhere, you have to have stable income so you can pay for the plane tickets and the hotel room. But I consider myself an adventurous person. So if I have figured out later and I really like photography, I think I would just go for it, put everything in it and go for it. Oh yeah, that was that. That was that. I don't have a conclusion. I don't know how to.
No worries, no worries. That was the longest speech by far, like 2 minutes,
Oh.
15 seconds, which is good. So I actually like when people give long speeches, because the one thing I've noted is you had a lot of detail, right? So you had all your main points and detail to back it up. Loved what Katie did, right? In the first point, she said, for example, right? You could go and travel to those places. Using examples is great, adds a lot of detail and supports that first point, that argument. You have a lot of flexibility, right? Additionally, you added jokes, right? Even a small joke is a joke. It lightens up the mood. It keeps your audience's attention, right? Of, if I had my summer sleep schedule, I could take pictures at 2 a.m., right? That's great. That's really funny. And that's a good joke to include. And you also had a con, right? So I love that you brought this up, right? 2 great points and then one, a con, but something you can work around, right? Always having a dynamic speech in terms of topics you're talking about, different points, right? Good, bad, whatever, is very important in your speech, right? Because even though, like you mentioned, even though there's that con, right, you could still work through it and it could still be your dream career, right? So it's just so much variety and so much nuance in your argument in particular, that made it a great speech. And so you showed me a lot of what you're capable of, Katie, and I'm glad. I'm very excited. Good job. Good job.
Yeah, I just want to add a few comments because I realized I haven't really done that for the other speeches. But basically, I just think that the con was something special because it really shows why it's a dream career. Because obviously we know that not always, like life won't always give us exactly what we want. So we won't always be able to, become the type of person we want to be. So we might not have the perfect job we want. But in this case, this really shows why it's a dream career. There are cons to it, but if it was possible, we would love to kind of, reach that goal anyway. And also, don't worry about going overtime. I don't know if you're worrying about that. Usually, like, the rules say that you can go, like, I don't remember, 30 seconds, 20 seconds overtime for most speeches.
Yeah, and this doesn't have a time.
This doesn't
So,
have that.
yeah.
So, yeah, good job.
Glad you kept talking. All right, good stuff, Katie. And then lastly, we have Audrey. Are you there and able to give your speech? All right, perfect. So you can start whenever.
I chose the prompt that of what is your dream career, and I would like to be a doctor when I grow up. I think mainly it's because I like the concept of being a doctor, the study of medicine, because I feel like no matter how much, there's always more to it. If you learn about one field of medicine and you think that, well, I want to change to something else, there's always more to learn and more to go with, and there's a lot of options. My this field of medicine that I'm most interested in is oncology, which is the study of cancer and how people would cure cancer. My grandmother actually died of breast cancer like a few years ago. So I think that drove me to be a lot more interested in how to cure cancer, because I know there's already like technology out there that has the possibility of being a very good cure for cancer, but it's not fully developed. But like even beyond that, I think above all else, I just enjoy helping other people, and I think it would be really good if I could like save lives and help people get better.
Very nice. All right, and is that, I'm assuming that's done. Cool. That was around 1 minute 30 seconds. Great speech. I think Audrey actually encapsulated a lot what I've been saying throughout this entire day. Of she had that dream career, had different points, right? Gave examples, right? So supported her own argument, and then gave a personal example which we can relate to, right? If anyone's lost a loved one or has dealt with cancer, right? They can relate to that. And then also going on and adding even more, right? The specific field of medicine that you want to study, and then, right, why you're really interested in that and what you want to do with it, right? All of that adds to the argument and makes a great speech. And I think Audrey, you're a very strong speaker. You have a very strong voice, and that's something that will serve you very well. So, so I just want to say congratulations to all of you. I told you guys to get out of your comfort zone. Like this pushed you out of your comfort zone on like the third day, right? But I'm so glad you guys went along with it, gave some great speeches, and now I got to learn a bit of where you guys stand in terms of speaking, and some stuff about what you guys enjoy as well. And we're going a bit over time, but yeah, Anderson, what do you want to say?
I was just going to say how everyone did a really good job. So yeah, again, really proud of you all. I know that it's not really easy to speak out publicly, like on demand as well. So good job. It really shows how much you guys have kind of grown, and I know you'll continue to grow. So well done.
Yep, perfect. So then lastly, just some homework. So we're meeting again next Thursday. By next Thursday, what I want is everyone to have an event picked out, so solidified, and then also a topic. So if you're doing a persuasive speech or an informative speech, start thinking, what do you want to talk about? If you're doing an informative speech, do you want to talk about, say, Audrey, do you want to talk about a specific type of cancer or a specific type of research or a specific medical field, right? If you're doing a persuasive speech, what problem do you want to address and try and solve, right? Start thinking about the topics. If you're doing radio and other stuff like that, just make sure you know what event you're doing, and then we'll guide you through all those events starting Thursday, because we need to get up and running to start writing those speeches. All right. So great job today. Start thinking about that for homework. I'll send out another email and also give you some more videos to watch in the next few days. All right.